Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for Primal the Awakening. This is the second discussion, because we have just finished the campaign, albeit skipping a chapter. So we could just get it done. And boy, am I happy we did that.
Yeah.
This is a weird one, because mechanically, this game is very sound. Like, it has a lot going for it. And I'm curious if you agree with me, because this is why I think this is a weird discussion, is I like this game. I hate its campaign.
Yeah, I think it's one-shots.
Which you can do.
Yeah.
Like, literally just, like, the, it's not, I don't know why it would be in the rule book. Like, literally in the campaign book, like, is it the campaign book? It's one book. It's one of the books where it's like, you just set up for a regular fight. Oh, here they are. The expeditions, or what they're called. Yeah, just where you set up and play. Each monster in the X can be played at 4 different aggression levels: 0, 1, 2, and 3. You hunter setup. You just get to decide at how many upgrades you get. So you just quickly set up. So if you want to fight, Varaxian, you have 2 different expeditions with different sets, and then you just set up the fight.
Yeah.
That is 1,000,000% this way this game should be played.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can't remember what game it was we played after one of the days we played through some of the campaigns of this, but like the story was just like on a card.
Oh, it was Leviathan Wilds.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like the writing. I'm not saying the writing is bad, but there's just too much of it.
Yeah.
And it's not horrible. It's not great.
Yeah.
But it's so much.
Yeah, because it's like the writing is cohesive. Like you understand what they're doing. The problem is that it feels like they got a Cliff Notes version of Monster Hunter and just changed names to fit their. It's like it feels like such a blatant ripoff of that. And it's like, okay, fine, whatever. It's a boss battler with giant monsters and our characters. That's perfectly fine. It goes on, and it forces you to want to feel something, and it's like, this feels so empty. And it's like, oh god, okay, here's this whole preamble to read. And normally I like that, but I don't care. The world means nothing to me. These characters are empty, nothing characters. And when you finish a boss fight, it's like, read this whole thing, then go read this, then read this vision, and then make sure you're taking notes, because at the end of the campaign, here's a lore thing. So the writing just is a slog, and it just sucks. But you cut all that out. Let's say you cut out the writing. I don't think the flow of the campaign is fun.
No.
Because here's the thing. It's like you get... Which kind of sucks, because it's like, okay, well, you pick certain monsters to fight, to then unlock a forge to get you access to different weapons. But what I found was this game was so limiting in build.
Yes.
I mean, it has, but it's like, well, I like this weapon, never changing it, like... And I could only hold one item.
That's what I was going to get into, was the items and stuff. That was...
Yeah. Well, get into it. Go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, it was like you were probably getting, you get one item.
Yeah.
Is it. So one spot for that, and then you have 3 potion places, but you can't have multiple of the same potion. You have to have 3 different ones. And so you have 1 heal. It's not even a full heal. It's limited depending on the attrition.
Yeah.
So if you have a 0 or a 1, you get at max. We had the highest level, I believe, was
it goes up to 3. Yeah.
So 12 is your max heal that you get, or 6 if you're not, and that's the only heal you have. I mean, there's abilities that prevent damage, and there's a little bit of healing on the other stuff.
Yeah, if you get different items, or it's like I had cards that allowed me to ignore damage, but it's like if I took those out, it's just like, why? What's stopping me? Like, I don't know why they were so restrictive on characters, like or on character design. Like, it's like, why can't I have the freedom to have 3 heals? And it's like, that means I'm not getting access to other stuff.
Right.
But it's like, well, we don't want you to heal too much because then the bosses are too hard. And it's like, well, I mean, they're going up in damage anyway, so it's like, I guess that was their whole decision, was that if I'm able to... But that's the problem. It's like, well, the attrition thing determines my healing. So it's like, it's not like I'm getting a full heal every time. If I have no way to avoid damage, then, like... Or if I do have a way to avoid damage, then it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be using my potions because I avoid damage all the time, so I basically burn 3 potion slots.
Right.
But the problem is through the campaign, they flood you with materials and plants and all that. So you're almost always able to kind of build what you want. But the problem is you have so many items. And all the items are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're so helpful. Like, the ones that we did build was a boomerang. Hey, if the first and last cards in your sequence are green, you deal 3 damage for each card. Well, that could be 15 damage. Okay, that's cool. As an item. And if I build in a way that I can have 7 cards, and I meticulously, it's boom, green, all the way to green with 7 cards, it's like, damn, that's 21 damage just for doing that. Like, the Coral Trident was, if you do a riding check, increase that if you deal damage during a riding check, you increase that damage by 7. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh man, that could be really neat, because it almost feels like they wanted you to just have a bunch of weapons and then be like, what monster are we going to go fight?
Yeah, better get this.
Like, oh, that one we know we can climb on, so I'll bring my trident. But the problem is in the campaign, you almost never fight the same monster twice.
Right.
So it's like, okay, well, I have this riding check weapon that I'll bring with me just in case we can ride him.
Next one had one that we could ride.
There were some that had plateaus that we can jump on, but like if it doesn't have the plateaus where you can jump on it, you can't do a riding check. So it's like, okay, well then I guess I just wasted my 1 item slot. And I mean, because I don't even mind necessarily the helmet and the body armor. I just hate the restriction on items.
Items, potion.
Like, if they wanted to give you 4 slots and it's item or potion, and so you can do like 2 items, 2 potions, 3 items, 1 potion, like, that would just be, I just think it would just be that much more fun. You can be super creative with your hunter builds that make you just... Because the thing is like, it'd be different if we knew exactly what the monster was going to do, but this game doesn't really allow you to do that. Unless you fight the monster over and over and over and over, you eventually remember what certain cards do. Like, eventually, I was like, oh, the card that fucks us with our recycle hand is the only end of round card.
Right.
But, it leaves, it almost, because there's so many campaign games, and there's so many boss battler games out now, it's the new hotness, that this just starts to become a chore, I feel like. At least the campaign did. Mm-hmm. Like, I just didn't care.
Yeah, because you made the comment when we were playing this last deal about comparing it to Oathsworn. And it's like, Oathsworn has stuff you do before the build up for it, which brings the story into it, and then you go and battle the guy, so you feel invested in the battle. This you just kind of set up in a 4-quadrant zone, and where there is strategic movement, it's not as much like I'm gonna move around and go, like this is just like he just rotates.
Yeah, he rotates.
So it's kind of a different take on
boss
battler a little bit.
And I don't even really mind the 4-quadrant thing. It kind of takes, like with Dark Souls and those games did, where it's like it still maneuvers, but the boss has 4 quadrants. It's basically, the Dark Souls boss fights are this, just shrunk to the boss, and then it still moves around. They just simplified that, which is fine. Like, you're not going to it's not going to be thematic by looking at the board, because the game is your sequence. I don't know, like, it really started to wear on me. The campaign was a lot of, who do we go fight? what do we not have unlocked?
Right.
Like, oh, we haven't done Horn and Ice. Let's go fight the Ice monster. It wasn't really about, oh, we need these particular items, this particular, oh, we like try and break off this creature's horn because I want to create this weapon. Like, we locked in to our build, at least our weapon. I mean, you locked it from the very beginning.
Yeah, so I just powered up the one I had from the sword.
Yeah, I locked in pretty early on as well, because as soon as we got the feather, I just kept that weapon for the additional movement. And then we kind of changed the helmet and the armor around. But there's just so many opportunities for creative classes and creative builds that you theoretically could do, but the game just doesn't really allow you to do it. And so whenever you're going through the campaign and you're already stuck, you're stuck with what you got because it works for the most part. You're not really incentivized to ever change or do anything, and the game doesn't really want you to do that anyway. Versus if you just did the escalation fights.
Right.
Where it's like, you know what? I want to try this weapon and this helmet, this armor, and this item, and it's going to take an hour and a half. You know? God.
Yeah, I think one of the things I dislike the most mechanically with this game is the rounds.
Oh my god, it's ass.
Because, and the only reason I say, I mean, if they didn't have that we had one card in this game, and there was a couple of monsters that used it, that healing.
Yeah.
Because if they heal a whole wound, I mean, that you might as well just say you're done.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, we went through 5 stances and we did a shit ton of damage the last couple of rounds.
Yeah.
And I mean, we beat them on the very last turn of the last round.
Mm-hmm.
But if he would have healed any of that stuff, we wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, you lose.
You know, it's like, it's such a big hit that I don't even know why the brown thing's in there. I mean, because you almost die anyway. It's just like, why is that even there? Just play until you die or you kill him.
Yeah, exactly. You know? It's the round track is literally, because there's also it's a mechanism, not even in terms of just trying to end the fight. There are monsters that are designed, like one of them is like hides in a shell, so it's designed to turtle up and make you burn time. Mm-hmm. There's ones that are designed to ramp up. I think the Karja ramps up the round track, and it's like, and it like burns the whole thing. It's like, well, I'm in fire, I can't play, so I guess we just lose. It's a horrifically lazy way to design bosses.
I hate time tracks in games anyway. I hate being rushed.
Right.
Like, I like to build up. I hate that in a lot of things.
Like why?
It has to be.
No, I completely agree, because it's like, okay, if it has 10 wounds and you have to do so much damage to wound it, like, the healing thing is I mean, I hate it anyway, but it's fine if you don't have the round track.
Right.
Because it's like, well, their player balance is that if we were playing 4 players, then this is 240 damage to wound.
Well, and we even utilized a card.
Yeah.
That got rid. We actually
you're right.
Cards
Yeah.
that took a wound off. If we didn't do that,
yeah,
there was no way.
Yeah, we just completely lose, and
he didn't even heal that much. That was the thing. Like,
I don't think he healed at all.
Right. That was my point. Like, there was no way in 10 rounds you're gonna do it unless we did that one.
I think we mainly, and it's, which again is like, oh man, I'm gonna burn 2 cards to get a free wound, but it almost feels like, well, they kind of just, they knew the game was gonna be. Yeah, or and it is the final boss, and I understand that, but it's like, it's a slog. Like, because the bosses don't really ramp up. I mean, they do, but not in the same way that Oathsworn or Aeon Trespass Odyssey or Kingdom Death Monster do, where it's like, okay, now the fight's getting more intense. It's like, well, they're kind of doing the same thing over and over and over and over. Mm-hmm. So if to have a fight lasts 3 hours, it's like, an hour and a half in, it's like, okay, I've seen what the gimmick is of this boss, I'm kind of done.
Right.
And then the rewards for even doing throughout the campaign are not exciting. I never gave a shit whenever we advanced or got something. Oh, upgrade your cards.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like, yippee. Like, they're like, you know what, the reward is actually getting to read the next section. We like, I mean, yeah, they have their stances and they have their, I can't remember, like the objectives and whatever these cards, that's supposed to be like the enemy's ramp. But the behavior cards are just kind of the same. But yeah, if it heals, then it's like, okay, well that sucks, like, because we've already burned our healing and it healed. If you don't have the round, then it's like, it doesn't feel as bad if it heals. Now, even healing a full wound, like let's say we were playing with 4 players and it just happened to have 0 damage. It's like full wound. That was 240 damage that it just basically undid. And that was 45 minutes of real life. So I fucking hate this.
Yeah, I would say if you went and bought this game, you haven't played it yet, you're watching this, it's easy to house rule. Just don't do the rounds.
But you can't, because then you can't fight. You like cut out 3-4 bosses, and there are a lot of bosses, and they all are different.
Yeah. Which
is cool. Some are, and that's why the escalation, or is that what it's called? Is that the expedition?
Yes.
The expeditions. That's why those are so much better, because you can fight, just pick a boss to fight, do a build, and be like, oh, this build sucks against this fight, and then you get to change it and come up with a good strategy against it without having to be like, well, I guess we just lost. Because what's also horrible about this campaign is you lose, redo.
Yeah, it's not a fail forward.
Yeah, and I despise, I refuse. No matter if I'm recording, because I don't do it mainly because of recording, because no one wants to see us redo a fucking fight. But I wouldn't even do it in my real life. It's like, I didn't just spend 3 hours to lose and then be like, oh, let's redo it. It's like, no, I'm not wasting that time. So, fail forward systems are infinitely better in campaign games, just because there's still consequences. It's like, well, we lost, what's that gonna do?
Right.
Versus just be like, oh, you didn't kill it, I guess do it again. It's like, okay, well, we didn't kill the monster, it flew away, I guess we don't get its trophy. Which brings me to this final fight. What do you think of the final fight? I mean, we won at the nick of time.
I was trying to think about that. I was reflecting on the other battles that we had. It wasn't the worst monster we fought.
Yeah.
Of the ones we fought.
Weirdly enough, even having 6 behavior cards.
Right.
Like, it was still kind of strategic, especially with like the like having the ballistas. I wish there was more of that kind of stuff.
Right. We were also very fortunate that we didn't really take attrition damage. Somehow.
Yeah.
Because I always take attrition damage, and I didn't.
That
once.
is true.
I didn't once this time. So it was just
like,
very
I was
lucky.
able to negate damage for you.
Yeah, and then I was either that, or stuff would have me flip the card, and I'd have a blue on top.
Yeah, or you happen to have like the exact number.
So, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite boss.
Yeah,
deal of it, but it comparing it to all the other monsters we fought, it felt like a end game boss.
It did feel like a finale boss. I mean, yeah, it took 3 hours to fight, but I think it's somehow I was still also like kind of invested the whole time. Like, at one, like, we had the ebbs and flows of like, we're doing really good, then we both kind of were like, okay, it's fucking over. And then because you went down, then I somehow lived, then I revived you, and it's like, oh, now you get to go. Okay, cool. And then you get to heal. So we kind of had the ebbs and flows, and then I feel so empty. And I don't know if it's more of just the game, the whole campaign, or if it was this fight. Because defeating bosses in Oathsworn or Aeon Trespass Odyssey or KDM feels like, whoo, man, that was exhilarating. Literally, both our reactions when we were done were like,
okay. 3 hours.
Yeah.
Discussion? Let's go.
Yeah, like, I just kind of want to get it done. So again, it's like, it worked as a final boss. I like the ballistas. I think those were cool. The fact that they came out, like, they had to reload, and we wanted to be in positions. Like, we had the cool player agency of being like, man, do we want to keep the storm level from going up? But that's how our ballistas do damage. Yeah, I honestly think that, I mean, we probably missed stuff and whatever, but it's like, in terms of the attrition, we just got insanely lucky.
Yeah.
I think this fight feels like it could be so swingy. If it's like, well, didn't avoid attrition damage. Like, I have 2 ways to avoid it, and it's the 3. Cool. Storm level goes up, take damage, fire goes in there, shit your pants, we lose. I don't know. It having 6 behavior cards, like, I mean, I get it. It's kind of like, well, it wants to escalate, and when it escalates, then it gains more struggle. When it struggles, it unleashes, and whenever it unleashes, it increases the storm level.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of little things that's like, I'm just not paying attention to. Like, forgot about that. Oops, kept some stuff around because I thought it was permanent, and it's not. But the other thing about the boss fight that I don't really like is that it actually feels restrictive throughout the campaign. Knowing what I know now, it's like, oh, the card in here, it's actually funny, it's this one. Luckily, it never went off, but the Surge of Healing, not only does it have, if it has 4 in a 2-player game, 4 struggle, it heals. Not only does it already have a card that does that in its normal deck, which I can't find it, but it's like, oh, if you fought a Ruxin, then it has 2 chances of full healing. And, oh wait, no, there's actually more, because if you have the fucking... That's the Karja. Yeah, it's gonna be... That's Rexel, which never popped off. There it is. Yep. So, if you fought Korowan, he heals half the damage it currently sustains. If you have a Ruxin, he heals all the damage, and if he doesn't, then he heals a wound. I swear there was a... Oh. It was one of these cards. That storm level increases. Where is it? It's the 3rd one. If a player suffers attrition damage, the Awaken heals half the damage it currently sustains. If it currently sustains no damage, it heals 1 wound instead. So... What's super restrictive about it, which is awful, is that knowing that these 2 cards exist, you're like, well, guess we're not going to go fight Aruxin or Korowan in this campaign because I don't want him to have those cards. Yeah. So you're restrictive on your campaign on which enemies you fight.
Yep.
And that's not fun. Like theoretically on paper, it sounds cool that all the trophies you have, he like absorbs their essence and has their abilities. But in actual practice of having it have a natural way to fully heal while you have a 10 round timer. Again, these cards are okay if the round doesn't exist. But I just don't, I hate this campaign. I hate it so much. It's so bad. But the game is good.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't sound like, it's like, wow, it sounds like you guys hate the game. I don't. I think the actual card play is dynamic. I think
yes.
you have, while it's still restrictive with the items and shit, I still think you can get decent builds. Like, this is a amalgamation of a build that I crafted that worked for my heavy gun card play. But I could build my heavy gun in tons of different ways. Like, all of the gun weapons are cool. I think the fire one puts a bunch of tokens on the deck, and whenever it escalates, it takes a shit ton of damage. Cool. Like, there's a bunch of stuff you can do, but the campaign just doesn't give you that progression feel.
Yeah, it was just a slog.
Yeah.
Like, it was after we played 3 or 4 games into the campaign, it was already starting to become rough.
Like, kind of once you get to the level 2, you kind of already have the things that work, and then if you do come across a boss that is actually like a counter to your build, and it's like, man, that sucked. redo it. I don't have the resources to build differently to fight it. And why would I build differently for the one fight when I can't go fight it again?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I think this is a fun boss battler. I think this is still a good boss battler, and I think just the expeditions are absolutely the way to go, because you could fight the same enemy 3 times or 4 times, because they can go up to 4, and do a build like 4 different ways if you wanted to, just to see how the enemy changes based off the cards in its behavior deck. And that's going to be a lot more fun than fighting it once at a different level, never seeing what it does, and then just kind of moving on, getting resources that didn't matter based off what you fought. Because in like Monster Hunter games, you grind the same enemy because you're trying to pop off its fucking armor plating. Right. And it's like, oh, now I can use this armor plating off this specific enemy so I can build this specific armor set. You just don't have that. It's simplistic in its campaign, and it's ass. So, but I think everything else over about the game probably holds true still for the most part from our earlier discussion.
Yeah.
So you can go watch our initial discussion and kind of compare and contrast what we're saying now after finishing the campaign. But ultimately, yeah, I'm conflicted because it's like, do I keep this game and just never, ever, ever play the campaign again, and just do one shots and just be like, man, I want to try a 4-player game of this with, and do the bow girl and then do a level 3 whatever. I want to do a level 3 Jakoros and just see how these 4 character builds that we've quickly done, just to see how they do. And if it doesn't work, then it's like, well, that was an hour and a half, and now we're done and get to play it. Because I feel like watching other reviewers that were raving about this game, I don't think any of them ever talked about the campaign.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, you guys just playing it as one shot, and that's why you guys are giving it 8 and 9s?
Right.
It's like, yeah, that probably checks out. Yeah. In terms of components, health tokens for shit that can go up to 120 is the worst design I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Why are there not health dials? Health dials for everyone. Like, players get health dials, and fucking definitely just do a boss health dial like Aeon Zen does.
Mm-hmm.
That goes up to do the hundreds health dial.
Right.
Because if you're playing 4 players, like, fucking with these tokens to do 200 damage, count up.
Right. Which, I mean, they have 50s.
They do have 50s, but it's like...
Yeah, still.
But that's still, you have to count up to 50s and then be like, okay, well... Okay, so you just did 17 and it's at 36. So that's 43, 53. Okay, so I'll turn all these ones now, and so now there's a 50. Yeah. It's like just pull out a calculator, or I guess maybe you can just buy those dials somewhere. I don't know. Brad, you got anything else?
I do not.
What was your favorite boss?
Oh gosh.
We fought the crab. Varaxon, which was the prologue. Ozu, the lightning beetle. Hydar was like the dog venom.
Right.
Rykal was the snake. Taragua was like the big regular horde guy. He charged around. Oruxin, which is our only loss. That was the one that just healed a shit ton, and it was like the plasma dragon. Karja was the cat. Pazis was the feathered creature that tried to fly away the whole time. And Felixir. I don't remember Felixir.
I kind of like the crab, just because the way he'd turtle up and then you could just sit there.
You had to break it out of his shell.
I mean, it didn't feel as. I mean, I know time became an issue with that one, but it didn't feel like as threatening as far as like.
I kind of like Ozu. Yeah. I liked him like having like lightning that was crackling down that you had to avoid certain sections.
I guess there was the one that healed all the time was the one that I hated.
Oruxin.
That one took forever.
Yeah, and we lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oruxin was awful. Some of these I can't even really remember. I know Karja was the one that ramped up the time track and put out fire, so that one was ass. But Yeah, I'd probably say Ozu, the lightning beetle. That's a cool one.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving Primal?
Well, since we haven't played any one-shots, I really can't
That's true.
do that, so I'm going with what I know. I like the card play. I like the deck building aspect. It had bright spots, but I think I gotta give it like a 5.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Going off the campaign.
Yeah, the
now,
campaign
if we did some one shots and taken that, I mean, it could
Yeah.
go up a point or two, but
yeah, that's true.
You know, I can't help but compare it. I haven't played as many boss battlers as you have.
Yeah.
But the one that I am playing and the one that I'm infatuated with right now has been Oathsworn.
Yeah, it's so good.
And when you compare this to Oathsworn, there's no contest.
I mean, we played Leviathan Wilds, like you mentioned, and the story was on a card, and I was like, I'm more invested in this than I am in the entire campaign of Primal.
Yeah.
Like, God, it's like, yeah, haven't played any of the expeditions, but just knowing that they exist and seeing that it's like, oh, just pick what level of the monster you want to fight, pick one of the 2 board setups, and then just go. You could just envision that just being a million times better because, again, the actual system of the game I enjoy. And because it's just an expedition with no real consequence except you win or lose, you are allowed to experiment without feeling like you're losing something in a campaign.
Right.
Campaign, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna try and give a pseudo ranking, overall ranking. Campaign, I'm giving like a 4.
Yeah.
I really do not like it. But overall game of Primal, if I strip away like the campaigniness of it and just envision like, oh, this was the build that I did against Karja. I'd probably still be at like a 7.
Right.
Like it's still a good game, but yeah, comparing to a lot of other boss battlers Oathsworn's story is it's so good.
And they have the narration, so that makes sense.
But even the writing, it just made you, even though like it always led to the same boss fight, your decisions felt like they still mattered. And there's no decision making in this one except who to fight. So yeah, like maybe an 8, depending on if I play this a bunch. But yeah, I think I'm gonna sit at a 7 overall. But the campaign is ass. So yeah. Well, that's our thoughts on Primal: The Awakening. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.